This is GARIS Masculist MGTOW flyers. 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW. Written and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 190, entitled FIPup or Be Manless, the core strategy of the Masculists. Description. This flyer disagrees with Howard Dare, who says that it is not a good idea for women to study STEM, S-T-E-M, science, tech, engineering and math majors, because they're not built for it. The Masculists are pushing for the creation of a FIP society in which both sexes, especially women, are socialized and educated to be FIPs, which means studying STEM and the professions to become good FIPs, that's financially independent persons, so that men can be liberated from man-slavery, etc. Women are adaptable, and we men have the power to force women to be FIPs or be totally ignored by men, ignored to death. And now for the flyer itself. FIPup or Be Manless, the core strategy of the Masculists. Dear Howard Dare, I don't agree with you at all on your view that it's not a good idea to push women to study STEM, that's S-T-E-M, science, tech, engineering and math. The core political idea of the Masculists is that so many of men's gender issues would be solved if women FIPed up, that is, became FIPs, financially independent persons. Manslavery would be wiped out, the paternity rejection right would be brought in, men would respect women more because women would not be such parasites on men, etc. Men have the power to force women to FIP up or be manless, to rot on the shelf to extinction, because most men are socialized and educated to be FIP. A fluffy, in brackets, a traditional woman who expects to be able to parasite off a man's money, can only be a fluffy if she can get her financial claws into some manslave. But 2/3 of young men now in the Western countries refuse to be manslaves and put powerful moral pressure on women to FIP up or be punished by not getting a man. It may be more difficult for women to study STEM and the professions, e.g. medicine, dentistry, law, architecture, etc., than it is for men, but tough. Men refuse to be manslaves to women, so women have to FIP up or die out. It's a moral question we are talking about. Women are expected by Masculists to be EMO FIPs, equal moral obligations FIPs. That is, Masculists expect women to think that women have a moral obligation to be FIPs and not be fluffies. If women find it more difficult to study STEM or the professions than men, then they will simply have to make more effort because they don't have any choice. They can't continue to parasite off men's money as fluffies because the supply of manslaves is drying up due to the influence of MGTOW and Masculist ideas on men. The Soviets put strong pressure on women to be scientists and engineers and were very successful. There were large numbers of female scientists and engineers in the USSR. This shows that it can be done. Women are human beings that have a human brain, admittedly with 10 billion fewer neurons in it than a man's brain, but still a human brain that is capable of learning, of adapting. So women are capable of adapting to the demands of men, who demand that women get off their fat parasitic asses and FIP up, that is, become adult, responsible, career competent FIPs, if they want a relationship with a man. Women are capable of doing this, so are being pushed to do it by the Masculists. Be FIP or be manless is the Masculist slogan to women. To liberate men from manslavery, which is the primary political goal of the Masculists for this century and worldwide, necessitates the FIPing of women. The Masculists talk about the creation of a FIP society in which both sexes, especially women, are socialized and educated to be FIP. Young women are now waking up that there's a desperate shortage of men who are prepared to be slaved. Less than 1/3 of young men under 35 in the Western countries. In a decade, that figure will probably be under 10%. So women are scared They know that a crisis is on their hands. Men refuse to be man-slaves. So if a woman wants any attention from a man and not be spat at as an immoral, parasitic, man-slaving vermin fluffy, she has to be a FIP. She has to be a responsible, career-competent, adult-minded FIP. She has to. The alternative for her is to be a fluffy and hence poor, manless, loveless, sexless, childless, and increasingly spat at by a society that is more informed of Masculist MGTOW ideas every month. I hope you find the above ideas convincing. Women must FIP up or rot on the shelf. Fluffies will be ignored to death. Masculists and MGTOWs will only have relationships with FIP women and totally ignore the fluffies, treating them as vermin, a fate that they deserve. We men have the power to force women to FIP up, and we are using it now. To spell this out in a logical form, to free men from manslavery, hence force women to FIP up. If all women become FIPs, hence fluffies die out. If fluffies die out, hence men are not manslaved because FIP women pull their own financial weight. If all women are FIPs, the paternity rejection right can be brought in because women are FIPs and can afford to raise their own kid on their own. The concept of a FIP is critical to the Masculists. It's a core idea to the creation of a FIP society that the Masculists really push for. Creating a FIP society will involve many social and legal changes. For example, primary schools will need to have an equal number of male and female teachers. The divorce laws will need to be made man fair. For example, alimony thrown out, custody of kids made joint by default. The owner of the house keeps it, etc. The para will be brought in. That's paternity rejection right. Women will be forced to stop dumping on men on the media, which will instruct boys that men are the superior sex because we outperform women at the top end of the scale on nearly anything measurable. Boys need their confidence restored by being told that men win 99% of the science Nobel Prizes, all the major math prizes. The philosophers are men, the composers are men, the creators are men, the inventors are men, the builders are men, etc. There is now such a massive backlash by men against the fluffy feminist hypocrites and their takeover of the divorce courts that women will be forced to FIP up or be punished by being manless. Most women will be very conscious of this moral pressure on them and will learn to make a lot more effort to FIP up because they will be terrified of being manless and treated as a fluffy, that is, as an immoral, parasitic, manslaving fluffy hated by men and totally ignored to death. Cheers, Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. YouTube channel de GARIS, Masculist, MGTOW, Flyers.